Hello, welcome to another episode of Festival Forum, and I am pleased to have the director and the producer of the film Love Is Now here with me. Gentlemen, would you be so kind as to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, my name is Jim Lounsbury. I'm the director of Love Is Now.
My name is Sam Ether. I'm one of the producers of the film.
Excellent. So guys, tell me a little bit about this film, first of all. What's the premise of this film?
Well, the film basically follows a young photographer, Dean Lassam, who, after the death of his father, moves to the city to kind of process his grief and turn over a new leaf in his life. And he meets a young photographer, Audrey, and they fall kind of madly in love and make this decision to go up the harvest trail of Australia working on fruit, and veggie farms, picking fruit, and having sort of a creative and, romantic odyssey. But when Audrey goes missing, Dean kind of goes off the rails, and there's a bit of a twist in the end. But it's in its heart, it's a complicated romance with a little bit of a mystery.
What was the genesis of this film for you? What, the inspiration? How did you come up with the idea?
I grew up in a family. We talked about Kubler-Ross, death and dying, and a lot of these things. And I wanted to make a film that was a rumination on death and dying without being too depressing. And I wanted to explore denial and repression and these sort of, things that happen when we go through, key points of grief in our life. So I thought if I could do it through the prism of a love story, and have the lead character lose someone that he loved, but yet there's sort of I guess you could say it's almost an unrequited love element to the story. It's joyous, yet it's tragic at the same time, that we might be able to get a deeper kind of view on the themes.
Interesting. Now, Sam, you helped produce the film. Tell me a little bit about how you two started working together and how you got involved with this film.
Well, the truth is, at a bar, I met the producer of the film, Baron, who's Jim's sort of long-time business partner, through a mutual friend, and he started telling me about this story, this film he wanted to make. And after I read the script, I went, I need to help make this happen. So quit my job, moved cities, and sort of since that time we were going full ball trying to get the film made. So, it was one of those weird moments, where just a chance meeting changes everything.
Was it a challenge to get the financing for this film? I mean, I know a lot of times it is much of a challenge to get a film financed, but in this case particularly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing with independent film. It's a whole bunch of people telling you, no way, you'll never be able to do it, no chance whatsoever. And it's, we'd sort of write all that down and put it on the wall, as a bit of an inspiration. And, indie films, we keep talking about, it's not about budget, it's about resources. It is looking under the couch, it's friends, family, giving you money, every favour you've ever earned, cashing it in, and also the support you get. Australia is a character in this film, but it's also a significant support base. Rural areas like Newcastle, the Hunter Valley where we shot, the people and the businesses out there and how supportive they were and what they did for us. We wouldn't have been able to make the film without them.
Excellent. Jim, tell me about a little bit about your directing technique and your process, your creative process as a director on set.
I like to work collaboratively. I've written a lot of scripts and screenplays with people. So I engaged with Eamon Farron, who's the lead in this film, early on. And we talked about the script. He gave me notes back and forth on the character. I worked on the part of Virginia with Anna Torv, who some people might know from the TV series Fringe. And we rewrote her part, to sort of deepen it and make it work better for her and how her relationship with Eamon was in the film. Claire Vanderboom is another one that I worked with. We didn't have as much time with Claire. We only had her a couple weeks out from the shoot, but we did do extensive reads and rehearsals on, the key scenes, the key, emotional beats in the story. And then on set, of course, it's really about having a plan, but then being willing to work with whatever comes. You have to kind of move the punches, and if the environment is doing something you don't expect, it's windy, it's rainy, it's cold, for some reason you can't, the art department can't dress the background because you've run out of time. Whatever it is, you always have to be willing to think on your feet and find a new way or a new inspiration in order to kind of shoot that scene. So, I'd say 5 times out of 10, the scene doesn't come out the way you'd planned it, but it probably comes out better because you've used those elements in the environment to sort of deepen the emotional layers.
It's interesting. We're in an age now where digital capture is the norm for filmmaking. Do you find that liberating as a filmmaker, and especially in a story like this where you're following characters on a journey? Production-wise, is it preferable for you as opposed to shooting on film?
Yeah, look, some of my first films and music videos I did on film, and I used to remember the sound of the film going through the gate, and I used to joke that the sound of it to a filmmaker was cha-ching, 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 because every foot that went through, it was money, because you knew that to process it, to purchase it. And there's a whole different discipline that comes with digital capture. With film, there was some extra pressure because you had to really think about your coverage. You didn't have the sort of ratio and the luxury of the ratios that we have today. But by the same token, you probably saved yourself a bit of time in post going through all those rushes. I do think that digital filmmaking is an advantage to filmmakers. I think the ability to review rushes straight away. We had a great post-production facility on board. We were shooting scenes in the morning and reviewing in the lunchtime, and could make adjustments or get extra pickups before we left a location. So that kind of stuff really helps for a filmmaker and helps the creative process, and also for you to communicate as a director to your crew, because if you can show them rushes, say, hey, this is what it's looking like, all of a sudden everyone from the production department right up to the camera department and everyone else can get a sense for what's going on, and you can get everyone on the same page quicker.
Excellent. And I imagine you were heavily involved in the post-production process as well.
Yeah, we had a really tight post-production turnaround on this film, partly because it's an independent film, and when everyone's on the clock, you've got to keep moving. But it was a 7-day-a-week, almost 12-hour-a-day exercise, and I worked with 2 editors, and we just cut around the clock just to give ourselves enough time to have a little bit of critical distance towards the end of that process. And get some people to watch the film and give us feedback so that we weren't in that bubble and didn't get that because you can easily lose that objective point of view. When you're inside of it, you're seeing the detail, but you're not seeing the whole picture. So
you get that tunnel vision.
So we had to push hard just to give ourselves a little bit of space so that we could then put that to practice. Excellent.
It's interesting because I come from film world too and shooting, and I've noticed too with digital that it's it is very liberating, it is very freeing, but I find when I get into post that sometimes I want to pull my hair out because you have so many shots that you look at, and so it's tough to kind of balance that out. But what would you say in terms of how the film ultimately turned out as opposed to the vision that you originally had when you wrote it? How close is that, would you say?
I think in terms of structure, it's almost completely the same. We did drop a couple of little storylines and subplots and things that, not really full subplots, but little tangents that weren't as important to the core storytelling. So we got a little bit more of that rigor in the post process, which is typical. Mm-hmm. I think, but structurally, it's a non-linear film. It sort of increases the sort of non-linear storytelling towards the end as we start to piece it all together, because it is about psychology and memories and that sort of thing. So that was always written that way. I'm proud of what we've achieved with the film. We got very lucky. Universal Pictures has picked it up for international distribution, and for us, that's just a dream come true in a way, to be working with a major to kind of get it out there into the international marketplace. And so, always look at the film and think there are things I would do differently if I do it again. I think the first few screenings, you have that pit in your stomach thinking that, if only. But I think it's very common. I think a lot of filmmakers have that, and it's hard to look at your work, and not think about how you do it differently second time around. But you do have to let that go and pour your energy into something else, and do it again, and hope that you can close that gap. I don't know if you've ever heard that quote from Ira Glass about the gap between our expectations of our art and what we're able to achieve with our art, and we're always trying to narrow that gap. Narrow the gap between our taste and what we're able to achieve at that time. So I'm always kind of trying to narrow that gap.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's take a look at a trailer for the film.
Thanks, Nick.
What are you doing?
I can't seem to get you in focus.
So, do you want a clear picture or do you want to capture the moment? You look like somebody I used to know. You know how you always expect people who look the same to be the same?
This thing, you and me. What is it? I think I love this girl. What am I waiting for?
It's time for you to go, Dean.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I don't know if I want to know everything.
We need to do this trip together.
When would we leave?
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Didn't you feel it? When we met, the world shifted just a little bit.
Okay, we're back, and gentlemen, I'd just like to say thank you so much for coming out. It's a pleasure having you. Thank you for talking about the film. This is your first time at Newport Beach Film Festival?
First time here as filmmakers, and it's to be honest, it's been such a beautiful experience. You know, it's such a well-run festival, so many great filmmakers, and you sort of feel humbled, you know, to be in their company because you're going to see these films and you're really respecting these artistic voices. So to be counted among their peers is a great thing. But the place itself, I mean, Newport has been welcoming us with open arms. You know, it's been beautiful weather. We've had a chance to go down to the beach for a swim, you know, and just enjoying the local, you know, kind of seaside culture is great. I didn't realize there was such a, you know, these so beautiful little villages around here. It seems like it's very different to LA and some of the other surrounding areas. So it's been a great experience for us.
Excellent. Well, it's a pleasure having you guys. Congratulations on the film, and enjoy the rest of the time here at the festival.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I appreciate that.
Okay, and now we're going to take a look at Life in a Walk. And now I'd like to welcome the filmmakers for Life in a Walk. Guys, how you doing today?
Doing extremely well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you. So I have here the director, Yogi, and his father, Will, who is the subject of the film. So Yogi, first of all, tell me about how this all started.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I've been a traveler for really my whole life, specifically the last decade. Just taking trips, going solo, just exploring the world. And I was trying to figure out where the next one would be. And I came across this walk called the Camino de Santiago. I never heard of it before, in France, in Spain, in Portugal. And I said, oh, this is kind of cool, I want to do it. And simultaneously I started talking to a lot of my peers and asked about their parents and their relationship with them. And I found out that as we get older, you know, we're supposed to get wiser and we get lamer. You know, we don't call our parents back. They ask us how our day was and we say, I was fine. We don't give them any real depth. And we lose touch with the people that raised us. And it was happening to me. And years earlier, my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I never dealt with it. And it hit me between the eyes that, Yogi, you gotta spend time with this guy. And I basically said to myself, I never want to say the sentence, I wish I spent more time with my dad. So I flew home, and I said, hey, you wanna go for a walk? And he said, sure, thinking we'd go around the corner. And I said, well, meet me in 2 weeks. Here's a plane ticket. Let's go to Portugal and Spain and go walk the Camino de Santiago. And away we went. And for me, it had nothing to do with his health because he had been fine. Because it was years earlier. It was 5 years prior to this trip where he was diagnosed. But me as a late 20-year-old kid, I was just racing through life like a lot of people, not taking time to spend time with the people we care about. And I just said, Yogi, stop. Like, you got to go spend time with the people you love. And we went and did it, and it was amazing. And it was one of those trips where, you know, we already had a great relationship going in, but I got to ask the questions that I think every kid kind of never really asks, you know, specifically about their life. How they were raised, where they were raised, when they went through adversity, how they dealt with success. And I think when you talk to parents, and you can answer it better than me, but parents' job is to raise a child, protect a child, get them ready to go into the world, not necessarily tell their story as a parent. So my dad hadn't necessarily bragged about his life, and I wanted to learn about it. So that's kind of why we went on the trip and came back, and all of a sudden we thought we had something. And it started to catch fire in conversation. I said, let's make a film and see if we can influence some people around the globe.
Excellent. So Will, your son has asked you, let's go for a walk, and you're thinking, Oh, okay, around the block.
Yeah, we were in Brooklyn at the
Yeah.
time. You know, I said, oh, we'll get out of the History Museum, the library, the botanical gardens, or whatever. Or, sure, I'll take a walk.
And then he hands you a plane ticket and he says, "We're going to Spain." What was your reaction at that point? I mean,
What's my wife going to think? Yeah, I mean, I love to travel. I love to go places. She doesn't have as much time. Sometimes also not the desire to go to certain places, like hard places, physical hard places, when you have to truck through 100 miles, 150 miles of woods and cobblestones and territories that you've never been before. So my thought was like, yeah, like I got company, I can go, you know, like I've got the greatest cover, so to speak, you know, like in terms of, she can't say no to my son, you know, like, or to me, you know, like, or she'd have a hard time making the case. And I love adventure, new places, and it's a spiritual road as well. I mean, the Camino de Santiago is the route that the Crusaders took following the pilgrimage to the Far East, or the Near East, or the Palestine, Jerusalem, and they would do their battle there, and then they would come back, and the soldiers or the Crusaders were then mercenaries for the Roman Pope, and they pillaged and plundered whatever they were pillaging and plundering. Then they felt bad, and then they made the pilgrimage to Santiago. So it's a walk, a social walk, a spiritual walk, a beautiful walk where you go through space and time. So to have that opportunity to do that with my son, who we've traveled before, and we were in Nepal, and of all things, Nepal kind of went kaboom while we're here. And when we ended at Santiago, it was Father's Day. I mean, so it's just been
So appropriate.
you know, like, and cancer. That's a, you know, like, how could I get cancer? I'm a vegetarian. You know, I exercise. I don't smoke. You know, like, but you know, like, when you get it, then it's like there's a psycho-oncology. You know, in terms of your cancering, even though it's gone, it's like a renegade cell, and you worry, is it going to come back? Is it going to be there? And then kids, you know, like, you call them up and say, hey, you know, like, I got to go get a biopsy. I got cancer. I got to deal with it. I don't want to make a career out of it. You know, like, and then maybe they came home once, you know, or not, you know, like, and it was like, wow, you know, like, hey, here I am at death's row, maybe, you know, like, or we're all going to die. And so you got to process that. And the takeaway is that every day is a Thanksgiving, and every moment that you have, and I learned that actually on the trip, you know, like a non-judgmental moment as you travel through space and time. Like, when are we going to get there? We're going to go up a hill, we're going to go down a hill, or you think it's going to be up? I don't know. We'll see. And to be that way, to learn how to be non-judgmental and just to be in the moment, I think is the journey.
It's a very strong theme and a very important theme, I think, for everybody in their life, right? It's that connection to understand that you never know when your last day is going to be, so you got to cherish every single day. And
the world of Google, you know, like
Yes.
Apple,
Yeah.
right? You know, Facebook.
Yeah.
And Amazon. You know, like, we were disconnected. I was totally disconnected. They had smartphones, I guess. You know, did you have a smartphone? So
But it
you
didn't
know,
work. We had no service.
there was no. They call it Wi-Fi. You know, Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. Yeah, Wi-Fi. You know, like, it was fun. You know, like, it was hard. I mean, like, we'd walk 10, 20 miles a day with a backpack on. Beautiful people. Non-GMO foods. You know, like fresh markets all the way along. Peasants, poverty, the crash, the recession came. You had 25% unemployment in both Spain and Portugal. You had abandoned seaside villas, developments. And I say, you know, there are more dogs here than there are people. What's going on? And then you put one and one together. There was a financial collapse. They repatriated money, and we walked through it. The super train basically bypassed a town, so they're all out there in town, like, shaking their fists and say, "Oh, what's going on?" And you find out that they just bypassed the town, so the economy in that town died, or is much more difficult, put it that way.
so, Yogi, you know, you were inspired by this trip. You make this film, and now you're here at Newport Beach Film Festival and you're showing it. What is your ambition with this film in terms of the message that it's sending out to everybody? Is it I mean, your dad pretty much touched on it, but is there anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, when we made it, first and foremost, I only wanted one thing to happen. I wanted him to like it, and that to me was like the biggest hurdle here, because they hadn't seen it. When I was editing it, I didn't show it to him at all. So, okay, we got through that. They watched it when they flew in earlier this week. And then to have it premiere here was unique. It was kind of a home crowd. We knew a lot of the people that were there. And then at our second screening, sold out again, didn't know more than 10% of the audience. And no one left during the Q&A. Everybody stayed and everyone was engaged. And all we hope that this film does, and every frame was built this way, to make sure that you're pondering your own life as you're watching it. And what I would say 99% of the people who came up to me afterwards said, it was as though with every clip, every scene, you were peeling back a different layer in my own life. And I think when you watch it, it's a soft way to kind of analyze if you're spending time with people you care about. And they tell you sometimes in filmmaking, find the conflict, ramp the conflict. Well, to me, I wanted to create the conflict in you watching it. And I think that we did that. And now my goal, and our goal as a team, is to share this thing all across the globe. It's not about how much money we make. It's not about what deals we make. It's not about what awards we win. It's about how many people watch it. Because we're batting 1,000. Everyone who's watched it has been influenced by it. And as a filmmaker, for the first time as a director, that's all that you want. And we couldn't be more proud because we didn't hire a PR firm. We remained grassroots, and we did it on purpose. We said, let's show this thing out and see if people will catch on, see if people will lean in. 1 sellout, 2 sellouts, and now thankfully the Newport Beach Film Festival. Are you kidding me? They're giving us another screening, allow us to close the entire festival with this film. I don't even think we dreamed of that, to be honest, when we came out here.
Let's take a look at some scenes from the film.
If it all ended tomorrow, what would my family say?
I just had this weird feeling that I never wanted to one day say the sentence, I wish I spent more time with my dad.
You know, water has a fingerprint, as oil has a fingerprint. I did not. What else you got? Wikipedia.
Went to family doctor. Guy examines me and says, I think you got cancer. I'm gonna need to do a biopsy. I got out of there and I ran to the car. I'm not gonna go through that slippery slope of getting sick, getting cut, getting radiated, getting poisoned.
He's been battling, trying to kick cancer's ass. So I bought him a flight and said, hey man, we're gonna go check out the Camino de Santiago.
On the road. We are pilgrims. We will walk.
Just a big adventure. I mean, there's no real plan. That's, to me, what is really exciting.
Gorgeous horse that ate out of our hands.
Every memory I have of him as a kid is constantly reminding me, Yogi, knowledge is no burden to carry.
If you wait long enough, your dreams come true.
There's a lot of things I don't know about my dad. There's probably a lot he doesn't know about me, too. And I'm hoping we can get through that.
Prudence is the better part of valor. You don't want to stick yourself in harm's way.
So why'd you yell at me when I got in trouble in Africa?
You're my son.
This is for you walk, more happy, enjoy the life.
That's what a pilgrimage is all about.
Well, I'm afraid of my dad dying for sure. That would break me. Which is a big reason why I'm here.
Well, I'd like to thank my guests, Yogi and Will. Pleasure. It truly is an inspirational story, and it's so satisfying to hear that you've got it out here and that you're selling out screenings, and you have actually another screening lined up, right?
Yeah, we're so excited. I mean, we came in thinking we'd do one, and then we got 2 and sold out both. And then literally last night before our second screening, they said, we want you to close the entire film festival here in Newport Beach. So Thursday night at 8 o'clock at the Triangle Square, we get one final screening. So for those of you that got turned away at the door, we apologize, but you get to come. And we'll see if we can keep the conversation going around spending time with the people you care about. So bring your dad, bring your kids, bring your mom, bring your friends, whatever, and we're going to show out one more time.
Excellent. Guys, congratulations on the film. That's our show today. I'd like to thank the filmmakers from Love Is Now and Life in a Walk for being here. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Visit Newport Beach. I'm your host, Nick Davies, and this has been another episode of Festival Forum. See you next time.